platform as a service. Heroku gives you a very easy way of deploying your application. You give it a Git repository, you've got some special config in there, and it installs it for you and gives you a server address. Hey ho, happy days, minimal effort on your part, and there it is. And there are a couple of other companies that do a similar thing. There's Railway and there's Render. Both look different, both do things slightly differently, and both have simpler payment plans. And as a platform as a service, they will then give you the extra add-ons. You want that database? Sure, just add it on. You want more CPU? Sure, just add it on. There's horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. Horizontal scaling is where we take the same cookie cut process, be it a server, a virtual server, or a container, or something like that, and we just stamp out more of them in a horizontal direction to give us more of those things. So we can go from 2 servers to 4 servers to 8 servers to 32 servers, however many it takes for our particular workload. There's also vertical scaling. Vertical scaling is where we make the resource bigger. So that virtual server, we give it more memory or we give it more CPU, and we make it bigger that way. And there's pros and cons depending on where you are and what layer you need to do in order to fix this sort of thing. It's quite common for web servers or for proxy servers to scale horizontally. But for database servers, it's more common to scale vertically. And of course, you can blend the two together. Ansible is another tool, configuration management, that lets us personalize the server. And for this is our Python app. So we're going to make sure that we've got some Python installed. That'd be a great start, wouldn't it? It's then going to install a virtualizer or something, package manager, pip or Poetry or something like that. Install all the dependencies. It's going to install a web server. And then once all that's done, we can then get our thing running. Easy peasy. So it reduces toil and manual work as well. So part of my operability role and DevOps role and SRE role and all that sort of stuff, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my previous video. Then I want to present a situation where everything is self-service. The developer says, I want to start a new project. The documentation says, here's a template, off you go. The developer says, I want to deploy it. The documentation says, go to this URL, onto our portal, click this button, feed in some information, and it will deploy it for you. Well, I've not built it yet. The answer is the same. Look on documentation, on the portal, there's a pipeline that will build it and test it for you. And so all of that extra cognitive load is taken away and makes everything and everybody just a little bit happier. All this sounds absolutely amazing to a developer. But there's a catch. The IDP might not be the solution that your organization is looking for. Potentially, it's over-engineering what's already there. Potentially, it's too complex. And there's always budget constraints and the size of the team constraints. IDPs take a lot of effort to get working. I was on a project, and from inception of the IDP to the first live service, I think took about 18 months. That's something that your business might not be able to support. Of course, looking on the back end of that, that was 9 years ago. Now a team joining that service can now start, pick up their tickets and deploy a fully working service within 3 weeks. Pretty impressive, but that's a lot of groundwork to go into at first. So once it's up and running, 3 weeks is great for developing a fully tested and deployed product. But it does have a lot of foundation that it relies on. Your business might not be up for that investment. It might be that you need that over-engineering and you've only got a team of 2 developers. It's probably a lot of hassle to go through just for 2 people. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use the guardrails. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use the CI/CD pipelines, but you don't have to go as far as a full-on internal developer platform. So you want to deploy an internal developer platform? Will they replace you? Probably not. When we're talking about technology, it's always about doing or delivering more with the same resources. We have a food processor at home, and sometimes I make mayonnaise with it. Never done that. But apparently, it says on the box you can make mayonnaise. So even if a dullard like me in the kitchen can make mayonnaise with a food processor, that is providing an output, something that I couldn't do without that technology. And so AI is the same. It's not about replacing you. It's about augmentation and focusing on work that you wouldn't otherwise get done. On larger teams I've been on, I often pair. This means I work alongside somebody else with either the same skill set as me, DevOps pairing, or an alternative DevOps type of skill set. Maybe they're a tester if we're writing tests. Maybe they're a programmer if we're helping to create some more programming guidelines. Or maybe they're from the logging team if I'm setting up some more alerts. And so automation to me is the heart of DevOps, SRE, and platform engineering. I'm providing tools and functionality so that the developers and other people on my team have an easier life. What's the one thing I can do today to make tomorrow easier and better for everybody else, including myself? What happens when we give the robots the power to master those tasks? Service industry transformation. We've already got lots of robots in factories and things because they're boring, repetitive, easy to do, don't need a lot of finicky changing precision. Everything's where it's supposed to be, right? Making a car out of metal is quite simple, but with fabric, it's all a bit, wobbly wibbly and foldy and really tricky. So we could have a service industry transformation. This will disrupt the jobs market. Like the industry revolution that we had several hundred years ago. No, it wasn't that bad. It was only, 50, 60 years ago. Doesn't sound that long. Anyway. But what will happen is that new roles will be created because somebody's got to look after all these robots. And this is why I'm here. I want to be more useful to you. Have you got any questions about SRE or DevOps or platform engineering? Then come along. Every Wednesday I run a Q&A, and the link is at techanswers.club, where you can come and ask me questions, and I will do my utmost best to serve you and answer those questions. It's a free session, so there's no worry about that. And I hope to see you on the next session. And I'd like to finish with a joke. A developer and a system administrator walk into a bar. The barman says, "What is this? Some kind of DevOps joke?" And they reply in unison, "It's not a joke, it's a collaborative deployment." They then proceed to spend the next hour arguing about who's going to write the infrastructure as code. Okay, so maybe not that funny, but jokes and humour are what get me through the day. So until next time, maybe I'll see you on the next DevOps session. The Q&A sessions every Wednesday over at Tech Answers Club. See you there.